The stars looked peaceful through the wide windows of the U.S. Harmony. Ambassador Lisa Carter stood quietly, watching distant suns twinkle in the dark space. She had been doing this job for 15 years now, and every day felt the same. Smile. Nod. Agree to whatever the aliens wanted, and keep the peace. Behind her, Captain Jake Morrison checked his watch again. Another boring diplomatic meeting was about to start. He hated these meetings. The aliens would make demands, Lisa would say yes, and Earth would give away more than it should. Jake had been a soldier before this job, and every part of him wanted to fight back. But Earth's government was clear about their orders. Keep the peace at any cost. Captain Morrison, please prepare the meeting room, Lisa said without turning around. Her voice was calm as always, but Jake could hear the tiredness in it. Yes, Ambassador, Jake replied. He walked down the hall, his boots clicking on the metal floor. The ship felt too quiet today. His security team of 20 soldiers stayed in their quarters most of the time. There was never any real danger on these diplomatic runs. The aliens saw humans as weak and harmless. In the medical bay, Dr. Amy Watson was checking her equipment for the 100th time. She genuinely believed that all species could live together in peace. She had spent her whole career studying alien biology and culture. Every day, she learned something new about the different races in the galaxy. The Zorvans were strong and proud. The Keltharians were smart and sneaky. Humans were known for being kind and giving. Commander Ben Hughes entered the medical bay. He was Jake's second in command, and he had doubts about everything they were doing. Doctor, do you really think this peace will last forever? Ben asked. Amy looked up from her medical scanner. Why would you ask that? Because every week, the Council asks for more from us. More technology, more resources, more land. We keep giving, but they keep taking. When does it end? Amy frowned. She did not like thinking about such dark possibilities. The galaxy is better when everyone works together. Fighting never solves anything. Ben shook his head. Maybe. But I wonder what happens when being nice stops working. 2 hours later, the meeting room filled with aliens. High Commander Vex from the Zorvan Empire sat at the head of the table. He was 8 feet tall with gray skin and red eyes. His uniform was covered in medals from various wars. Next to him sat Delegate Crix from the Keltharian Syndicate. Crix looked almost human, except for his yellow eyes and blue-tinged skin. Lisa entered the room with a warm smile. Welcome, honored delegates. I hope your journey here was comfortable. Vex did not smile back. We are here for business, not pleasantries. The Council has new requirements for human territories. Lisa sat down, still smiling. Jake and Ben stood near the door, watching everything. Jake's hand stayed close to his weapon, even though he knew he would never be allowed to use it. The Zorvan Empire requires 3 new bases on human worlds. Vex announced. For protection purposes. Protection from what? Lisa asked politely. Pirates, rebels, and other dangers, Crix said smoothly. His voice was like silk, but his eyes were cold. Surely Earth wants its colonies to be safe, Lisa nodded. Of course we want safety, but our colonies have their own security forces. Vex laughed, a harsh sound that filled the room. Human security? Your people could not fight off a group of children. No, you need real protection from real warriors. Jake felt his jaw tighten. Behind him, Ben shifted slightly. The insult was clear, but they could do nothing about it. We also require access to your medical technology, Crix added. The healing devices your people create could benefit the entire galaxy. We already share our medical advances through the proper Council channels, Lisa replied. Not enough, Vex said firmly. We want full access to your research facilities and manufacturing plants. The Council has voted on this matter. It is decided. Lisa's smile wavered for just a moment. I will need to discuss this with Earth's government. There is nothing to discuss, Crick said. The Council speaks for the galaxy. Even humans must follow galactic law. Jake watched Lisa's face carefully. He had worked with her for 3 years, and he could see the stress building behind her calm expression. She was trying so hard to keep everyone happy, but it was getting harder every day. There's one more matter, Vex said. He leaned forward, his red eyes fixed on Lisa. Some council members have expressed concerns about human loyalty. What kind of concerns? Lisa asked. Your people ask too many questions. You want to know why we need bases on your worlds. You want to know where your resources are going. This shows a lack of trust in the Council's wisdom. Ben whispered something to Jake, but Jake could not hear what he said over the sound of his own heartbeat. The accusation was serious. Any species labeled as disloyal could be removed from the Council completely. Humans have always been loyal. Members of the galactic community, Lisa said carefully. Have you? Crix asked. Then you will agree to our requests without further questions. The room fell silent. Lisa looked at the table for a long moment. Finally, she looked up with her diplomatic smile firmly in place. I will transmit your request to Earth immediately. Vex stood up, towering over everyone in the room. Good. We expect a positive response within 1 week. He paused at the door. It would be unfortunate if the Council had to reconsider humanity's place in galactic society. After the aliens left, the room stayed quiet for several minutes. Lisa stared at the table, her hands folded. Jake and Ben remained by the door, both thinking the same thing but not saying it out loud. Finally, Amy entered the room. How did the meeting go? Lisa looked up with tired eyes. The same as always. They want more, and we have to give it to them. Ambassador, Jake said quietly, how long can we keep doing this? Lisa stood up slowly. As long as it takes to keep the peace. Captain, that is our duty. As they left the meeting room, none of them noticed the small recording device hidden under the table. The Keltharians had been watching human reactions for months, studying every expression and gesture. They were learning how to push humans further and further without breaking them completely. But they were making one critical mistake. They assumed that humans were naturally weak. They never considered that humanity's gentleness might be a choice rather than a limitation. And they never wondered what might happen if humans ever decided to make a different choice. 3 days later, a message arrived from the outer colonies. 2 human ships had vanished near the Zorvan border. When Lisa requested an investigation, the Council told her it was probably just engine failure. Nothing to worry about. Jake read the report twice, then locked it in his personal files. He was starting to keep track of these incidents. Something told him they might be important later. 3 months had passed since the meeting on the UES Harmony. Lisa Carter had not slept well in weeks. Every day brought new reports from human colonies, and none of them were good. Ships disappeared, communication systems failed, and now entire settlements were going silent. The worst news came on a Tuesday morning. Lisa was drinking her coffee when Captain Morrison burst into her office without knocking. Ambassador, we have a problem, Jake said. His face was pale, and his hands shook slightly as he handed her a data pad. Lisa read the report twice before. The words made sense. New Denver colony had been attacked. 200 people were dead, including 47 children. The attackers had used advanced weapons and moved like a trained military force. They destroyed everything and left no survivors to tell what happened. Who did this? Lisa asked, though she already suspected the answer. The colonists managed to get one message out before they died, Jake said. The attacking ships had Zorvan energy signatures. Lisa felt sick. She had spent years trying to keep peace with the Zorvans, and now they were killing human civilians. She stood up quickly, almost knocking over her coffee. I need to speak with the Council immediately. 2 hours later, Lisa stood in the Council chamber on the space station Galactic Prime. The chamber was huge, with seats for representatives from 50 different species. Most of the seats were empty today. Only the important species bothered. To attend regular sessions, High Commander Vex sat in his usual place, looking bored. Delegate Crix played with his datapad, not even looking up when Lisa began to speak. "Honored council members," Lisa said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I must report a terrible attack on one of our colonies. 200 innocent people are dead, including children." A few aliens looked up with mild interest. Most continued their private conversations. "We have evidence that Zorvan ships were involved in this attack," Lisa continued. "I formally request a full investigation." Vex laughed loudly. "Evidence? What evidence could humans possibly have? Your people see shadows and call them enemies. Our sensors recorded Zorvan energy signatures from the attacking vessels," Lisa said. "Sensors can be wrong," Crix said without looking up from his pad. "Many species use similar energy systems. This proves nothing." Lisa felt her anger rising, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Then surely the council will investigate to clear up this confusion." "The matter is under review," said Chancellor Vex, the council's leader. He was a tall, thin alien with purple skin. "We will consider your request in due time." "Due time?" Lisa asked. "People are dead. Families have been destroyed. How much time do you need?" "As much time as necessary," Vex said. "Perhaps if humans were better at protecting themselves, these tragic accidents would not happen." Lisa stared at him. "Accidents? What else could they be?" Crix asked, finally looking up. "The galaxy is a dangerous place. Weak species sometimes suffer unfortunate events." The other council members nodded in agreement. Lisa realized they had already decided what happened at New Denver. In their minds, humans had brought this on themselves by being too weak to fight back. "I demand justice for the murdered colonists," Lisa said. "Justice?" Vex stood up, towering over Lisa. "Be careful what you demand, human. Some might think you are threatening the peace. I am asking for an investigation into mass murder. You are making wild accusations without proof, Chancellor." Vex said coldly. "Perhaps humans are becoming too emotional for diplomatic work." Lisa left the council chamber with nothing. No investigation, no justice, and no help. Worse, she could see in their eyes that they thought she was the problem, not the dead colonists. Back on the Harmony, Dr. Amy Watson was working late in her laboratory. She had been analyzing the data from New Denver for days, trying to understand what really happened. What she found made her hands shake. "Captain Morrison," she called over the ship's communication system. "Please come to the medical bay immediately." Jake arrived within minutes, followed by Commander Ben Hughes. Amy's lab was covered with charts and data screens. "I have been studying the attack data," Amy said. "The energy signatures are definitely Zorvan, but there is more." She pointed to a complex chart on her main screen. The weapons used were not standard Zorvan military equipment. They were much more advanced. Someone gave the attackers special weapons designed to kill as many people as possible in the shortest time. "Who would do that?" Jake asked. "Someone who wanted to send a message," Ben said quietly. "Someone who wanted to scare us." Amy nodded. "There is something else. I found traces of Kelfarian sensor technology in the wreckage. They were recording the attack." Jake felt cold. "They were making a movie of people dying?" "It appears so," Amy said. "I think this attack was planned by multiple species working together." Jake and Ben looked at each other. If Amy was right, then the attack on New Denver was not random violence. It was a coordinated assault approved by the Council itself. "Have you told Ambassador Carter about this?" Ben asked. "Not yet," Amy said. "I wanted to be sure first." "Do not tell her," Jake said suddenly. "Not yet." Amy looked surprised. "Why not?" "Because she will try to bring this to the Council again, and they will just lie to her face. Jake explained. "We need more evidence first." Over the next few weeks, Jake began reaching out to other human military officers across the galaxy. What he learned made him angry and scared at the same time. Admiral Kate Sullivan commanded Earth's defense fleet from her base near Mars. When Jake contacted her privately, she had been waiting for his call. "Captain Morrison," she said over the secure channel. "I was wondering when someone would start asking the right questions." "What do you mean, Admiral?" "New Denver was not the first attack," Kate said. "I have been tracking incidents for 8 months. 17 human ships have vanished. 4 colonies have reported strange raids. 2 mining stations have been destroyed." Jake felt his heart racing. Why have we not heard about this? "Because every time I file a report with the Council, it disappears into their bureaucracy," Kate said. "They claim they are investigating, but nothing ever happens." "What do you think is really going on?" Kate was quiet for a long moment. "I think they are testing us, Captain. They want to see how much we will take before we fight back. And if we do fight back, then they will claim we are the aggressors and kick us out of the Council completely." Jake understood now. Humans were trapped. If they did nothing, the attacks would continue and get worse. If they defended themselves, they would be labeled as violent and lose their place in galactic society. Meanwhile, on the mining station Titan's Hope, engineer Ryan Davis was having his own problems. Alien inspectors had been visiting his station for weeks, claiming they needed to check safety procedures. "We need to examine your power systems," said Inspector Zeth, a Caltharian with cold yellow eyes. "Why?" Ryan asked. "Our systems passed inspection last year." "New regulations," Zeth said smoothly. "All human facilities must be recertified for galactic safety standards." Ryan had no choice but to let them look around. But he noticed they asked strange questions. How much power could the station generate? How many workers did they have? What kind of weapons did their security team carry? These were not safety questions. These were military questions. After the inspectors left, Ryan sent a coded message to his brother, who worked for Earth's government. The message was short. "They are not here for safety. They are mapping our capabilities." The breaking point came when High Commander Thex announced that Zorvan forces would establish protective garrisons on 3 human worlds. The Council voted to approve this decision immediately. Without giving humans time to object, Lisa Carter made one final attempt to stop this. She stood before the Council and spoke with all the diplomatic skills she had learned over 15 years. "Honored Council members, I ask you to reconsider this decision. Humans have never requested protection from the Zorvan Empire. Our colonies are peaceful and pose no threat to galactic security. That is exactly why they need protection," Vex said with a cruel smile. "Peaceful colonies are easy targets for pirates and raiders. If that is your concern, human security forces can handle any threats." The Council chamber filled with laughter. Even species that had been neutral before joined in the mockery. "Human security?" Chancellor Vex asked between chuckles. "Captain Morrison, how many wars has your species won?" The question was designed to humiliate. Everyone in the galaxy knew that humans had ended most of their wars through negotiation, not victory. "We prefer to solve problems without violence," Lisa said. "Because you cannot win with violence," Crick said. "Face the truth, Ambassador. Your species is weak. You need stronger species to protect you, whether you want it or not. And if we refuse this protection," Vex leaned forward, "then perhaps humans are not ready for full membership in galactic society. Perhaps you need time to think about your place in the universe." The threat was clear. Accept Zorvan occupation or lose everything. Lisa Carter had spent her entire career believing that diplomacy could solve any problem. But as she looked around the Council chamber at the smirking faces of aliens who saw her people as weak prey, she realized that some problems could not be solved with words. That night, she sent a coded message to Earth. Request immediate consultation on Policy 7. The Zorvan ships arrived at Riverside Falls Colony on a Monday morning. The colonists watched from their windows as massive gray warships filled the sky. Within hours, everything changed. Colonel Danny Price had lived on Riverside Falls for 10 years. He was retired military, but he still remembered how to fight. When Zorvan soldiers marched through his town, he wanted to grab his old rifle and make a stand. But he had a wife and 2 young daughters to think about. All humans report to the Central Plaza immediately, the loudspeakers announced in harsh Zorvan voices. This is for your own protection. Danny held his wife Sarah's hand as they walked to the plaza with their neighbors. Everyone looked scared and confused. The Zorvan soldiers wore full battle armor and carried weapons designed to kill large groups quickly. Commander Drac, the Zorvan leader, was 12 feet tall and covered in scars from old battles. He looked at the gathered humans like they were insects that annoyed him. This colony is now under Zorvan protection, Drac announced. For security reasons, all humans will be relocated to safer housing. What kind of housing? Asked Mayor Linda Ross, trying to sound brave. Temporary facilities where you will be properly cared for, Drac replied. Gather only essential items. Transport leaves in 2 hours. The humans were loaded onto military transports like cargo. Danny tried to keep his family close, but the soldiers separated men from women and children. His last sight of his home was smoke rising from buildings. The Zorvans were already tearing down. The temporary facilities were prison camps. Families were kept apart, food was barely enough to survive, and anyone who complained disappeared during the night. Danny realized they were not being protected. They were being erased. Similar scenes played out on 2 other human colonies. Within a week, 15,000 humans had been forced from their homes and imprisoned. When their families on other worlds tried to contact them, they were told the colonists were being kept safe and could not receive messages. Ambassador Lisa Carter tried desperately to reach the council. Every request for information was ignored or delayed. When she finally got a meeting, Chancellor Vex acted like nothing unusual was happening. The colonists are being protected from terrorist threats, he said calmly. Surely Earth appreciates Zorvan dedication to human safety. I want to speak with the colonists directly, Lisa demanded. That is not possible during the security operation. Delegate Crick said. Outside contact could compromise their protection. Lisa knew she was listening to lies, but she had no way to prove it. The Council had complete control over information from the occupied colonies. Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan was having her own problems. The Council had sent an official message ordering her to reduce Earth's defense fleet by half. They claimed it was necessary to prevent aggressive displays that might destabilize regional peace. Kate stared at the message on her screen. If she followed these orders, Earth would be defenseless against attack. But if she refused, the Council would declare humanity a rogue species and authorize military action against them. She sent a coded message to every human ship. Captain in the galaxy, stand by for new orders. Do not reduce defensive positions. Under any circumstances. The final insult came when the Council announced that humanity's membership was being temporarily suspended, while they reviewed human loyalty to galactic peace principles. The official reason was that humans had shown concerning aggressive tendencies. By questioning Council decisions, Lisa Carter found herself locked out of Council meetings. Her diplomatic credentials were suspended, and her access to galactic communication networks was cut off. After 15 years of faithful service, she was being treated like a criminal. That night, she received a message on an old emergency channel that most people had forgotten existed. It was from Admiral Sullivan. Ambassador Carter, please report to Secure Facility Alpha 7 immediately. Presidential order. Lisa had never heard of Facility Alpha 7, but a presidential order could not be ignored. She took a transport to coordinates deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. What she found there shocked her. The facility was huge, hidden inside a carved-out asteroid. As her transport docked, she saw dozens of human ships she did not recognize. They were clearly military vessels, but their design was unlike anything she had seen before. Admiral Sullivan met her at the airlock. Kate was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Welcome to humanity's best-kept secret, Ambassador," Kate said. "We need to talk." The briefing room was filled with people Lisa did not expect to see. Captain Morrison was there, looking serious. Commander Hughes sat next to him. Dr. Watson was studying technical displays she clearly did not understand. But there were others too. Military officers, scientists, engineers, and government officials she had never met. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Sullivan began, "Operation Terran Fury is now authorized." Lisa felt confused. What is Operation Terran Fury? "It is what happens when humanity stops being nice," Kate replied. "For 30 years, we have chosen to be peaceful. We shared technology that was centuries behind our actual capabilities. We accepted insults and aggression to maintain galactic stability. We allowed other species to think we were weak because it seemed safer that way." She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked human colonies, ships, and facilities. There were thousands more than Lisa had known about. Every diplomatic meeting, every trade negotiation, every cultural exchange has been an intelligence-gathering operation, Kate continued. "We have been studying alien technology, military capabilities, and political structures for 3 decades. Captain." Morrison stood up. "The merchant ships that carry goods between worlds? They are actually reconnaissance vessels. The research stations studying stellar phenomena? They are monitoring alien communications. The medical missions helping other species. They have been mapping biological weaknesses." Lisa stared at them. "You mean we have been spying on everyone?" "We have been preparing," Dr. Watson said quietly. "I thought we were sharing medical technology to help people. But the scanners we gave to other species were designed to study their biology and find ways to counteract their advantages." "Admiral." Sullivan nodded. "Every species in the galaxy has weaknesses. Zorvans are strong but slow. Keltharians are smart but physically fragile. Others rely too heavily on technology that can be disrupted. We know exactly how to defeat every species. That has threatened us." "But why?" Lisa asked. "Why hide all of this?" "Because peaceful coexistence was preferable to war," Kate replied. "We hoped we would never need these capabilities. But the Council has made their intentions clear. They see us as prey to be hunted and resources to be consumed." She pressed a button, and the display changed to show recent events. The attacks on human colonies, the forced relocations, the suspension of human rights. "They have crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed," Kate said. "The time for diplomacy is over." Lisa felt like her entire world was collapsing. Everything she had believed about humanity's place in the galaxy was wrong. They were not weak survivors, depending on alien goodwill. They were predators pretending to be prey. What happens now? She asked. Admiral Sullivan smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "Now they learn what humanity is really capable of when we stop holding back." She opened a communication channel that reached every human facility in the galaxy. Her voice was calm but filled with authority. "This is Admiral Sullivan to all human forces. The Council has declared us enemies in all but name. We have tried peace. We have tried diplomacy. We have tried compromise. They have mistaken our restraint for weakness." The channel crackled with responses from hundreds of ship captains, station commanders, and military leaders who had been waiting for this moment. Today, they learn what humanity is truly capable of when we stop pretending to be harmless. Operation Terran Fury is now active. God help them all. Across the galaxy, human merchant ships began powering up weapon systems that alien sensors had never detected. Research stations activated defensive shields stronger than anything in the Zorvan arsenal. Mining facilities revealed themselves to be military production centers that had been secretly building an army for decades. On the prison colony where Danny Price was being held, the guards noticed strange lights in the sky. The lights were moving fast and heading directly toward the camp. For the first time since the occupation began, the Zorvan soldiers looked worried. High Commander Thex was eating dinner when his aide burst into his quarters. "Commander, we are receiving emergency signals from all our occupied territories," the aide said, his voice shaking. "The humans are attacking," Thex laughed. "Impossible. Humans do not attack, they beg and negotiate." "Sir, you need to see this," the aide said, activating a communication screen. The screen showed a human warship destroying a Zorvan battlecruiser with a single shot. The weapon technology was far beyond anything the Zorvans possessed. For the first time in his military career, High Commander Thex felt afraid. The first human attack came without warning. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Brooks commanded what looked like a simple cargo ship called the UES Perseverance. For 5 years, it had carried supplies between human colonies, while Zorvan inspectors watched and recorded everything. But when Sam received Admiral Sullivan's activation code, the ship began to change. Hidden panels slid open to reveal massive weapons. The cargo holds transformed into fighter launch bays. The slow, peaceful transport became a deadly warship in less than 10 minutes. Sam's target was the prison camp, where Danny Price and his family were being held. The Zorvan guards had grown lazy after weeks of watching helpless humans behind electric fences. They never expected to see human warships dropping from the sky. "All Zorvan forces, this is Colonel Brooks of the Earth Defense Fleet," Sam announced. "Over all radio channels. You have exactly 60 seconds to release the human prisoners and surrender your weapons." Commander Drac laughed when he heard the message. One human ship against an entire garrison? These fools have lost their minds. He ordered his anti-aircraft batteries to fire at the approaching vessel. The energy beams that could destroy most ships simply bounced off the Perseverance's shields like raindrops. "Impossible," Drac whispered. "No human ship has shields that strong." Sam's response was swift and precise. The Perseverance fired a single shot that vaporized the main guard tower. The explosion was so powerful that windows broke in buildings. 5 miles away. 50 seconds remaining, Sam announced calmly. The Zorvan soldiers began to panic. Their most powerful weapons had no effect on the human ship, while the humans had just destroyed their strongest fortification with one shot. Some guards dropped their weapons and ran. Others tried to hide behind buildings. Down in the prison compound, Danny Price grabbed his wife's hand as the ground shook from explosions. Through the fence, he could see Zorvan soldiers running in all directions. "What is happening?" Sarah asked. "I think," Danny said with amazement, "I think we are being rescued." The prison gates exploded inward as human soldiers in advanced combat armor stormed the camp. These were not the peaceful diplomats the Zorvans expected. These were professional warriors who moved with deadly efficiency. "All human civilians move to the evacuation zones immediately," the soldiers ordered. "We are getting you out of here." Within an hour, every human prisoner was free and safely aboard rescue ships. The Zorvan garrison was either dead or captured. Commander Drac found himself in chains, staring at human soldiers whose equipment was far more advanced than anything his empire possessed. "How?" Drac asked Colonel Brooks. "Where did you get these weapons?" Sam smiled coldly. "We made them. While you thought we were weak and helpless, we were building the most advanced military force in the galaxy." Similar attacks occurred across dozens of worlds simultaneously. Human research stations revealed themselves as military command centers. The mining facility at Titan's Hope that engineer Ryan Davis managed was actually a massive weapons factory. Ryan stood in the main production bay, watching as thousands of combat drones rolled off assembly lines that had been disguised as ore processors. Each drone was equipped with technology specifically designed to counter alien defenses. "How long have we been making these?" asked his assistant, Maria Lopez, who was seeing the real facility for the first time. 15 years, Ryan replied. Every piece of metal we supposedly mined was actually being used to build weapons. Every safety inspection from alien officials gave us more information about their technology so we could design better countermeasures. The drones launched from Titan's Hope like a metallic swarm, heading toward Zorvan and Caltharian positions. Throughout the solar system, each one was programmed with detailed knowledge of alien ship designs and tactical doctrines. On the diplomatic ship UES Harmony, Dr. Amy Watson made a discovery that shocked her to the core. While reviewing her medical files, she realized that every alien she had ever treated had been secretly scanned and analyzed. "Captain Morrison," she called over the communication system, "I need to ask you something important." Jake arrived at the medical bay within minutes. Amy was sitting at her desk, surrounded by files and looking very upset. "The medical scanners I have been using on alien patients," she said slowly. "They were not just treating injuries and illnesses, were they?" Jake shook his head. "No, doctor. They were also mapping biological weaknesses and genetic vulnerabilities." Amy felt sick. "You mean every time I helped an injured alien, I was also helping to find ways to hurt their entire species?" The scanners collected data on nerve systems, organ placement, blood chemistry, and immune responses, Jake explained. That information was sent to military researchers who used it to develop non-lethal weapons specifically designed for each species. Non-lethal? "We are not monsters, Amy. The goal was always to defeat our enemies without unnecessary killing. But we needed to know exactly how to stop them if they forced us to fight." As Jake spoke, reports came in from across the galaxy. Human forces were achieving impossible victories against alien military units that should have been much stronger. On the Caltharian homeworld, a small human strike team disabled the planet's entire defense network using a computer virus that exploited weaknesses in their quantum processors. The Caltharians had always been proud of their advanced technology, but humans had been studying their systems for decades. The virus was designed by Dr. Kelly Turner, a computer scientist who had spent 10 years working as a cultural exchange student on Caltharian worlds. While aliens thought she was learning about their art and philosophy, she was actually mapping their computer networks and finding security flaws. Their entire military command system is based on quantum entanglement, Kelly explained to her. Team as alien ships fell helpless around their planet. Very advanced, but also very fragile. If you know exactly where to hit it, the whole thing collapses like a house of cards. High Commander Thex watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically destroyed by ships he had dismissed as harmless cargo vessels. Every tactical advantage the Zorvans possessed was being countered by human forces that seemed to know exactly what they were going to do before they did it. "How are they predicting our movements?" Thex demanded of his tactical officer. "Sir, they appear to have complete knowledge of our standard battle formations and response protocols." The officer replied nervously. What Thex did not know was that every military exercise, every war game, and every actual battle the Zorvans had fought for 30 years had been observed by hidden human sensors. Admiral Sullivan's intelligence network had recorded every Zorvan tactical manual, training video, and strategic document. The humans were not just better equipped. They were better informed. On Earth, Admiral Sullivan stood in her command center watching reports flow in from across the galaxy. Every human military unit was performing exactly as planned. 30 years of careful preparation were paying off. Perfectly. "Admiral," reported Captain Michelle Grant, her communications officer. "The Zorvan High Command is requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations." "Already?" Sullivan asked with surprise. "The war has only been active for 6 hours. Yes, ma'am. They are also asking how we developed such advanced technology so quickly." Admiral Sullivan smiled. "Tell them we did not develop it quickly. We have been developing it slowly and carefully for 3 decades, while they thought we were harmless merchants and researchers. What about their ceasefire request? Denied. They chose to start this war by attacking our civilians. We will choose when it ends." Meanwhile, Chancellor Vex of the Galactic Council was sending desperate messages to every neutral species in the galaxy. "The humans have been deceiving us all," he broadcast. "They are not the peaceful species we thought they were. They have been preparing for war while pretending to seek peace." The response from other species was not what he expected. Many alien leaders had grown tired of Zorvan and Caltharian bullying. Some had secretly hoped someone would eventually stand up to the galaxy's self-appointed rulers. "Perhaps," replied Ambassador Zara of the Nexian Republic, "it is time the galaxy had new leadership." As the first day of open warfare ended, the balance of power in the galaxy had completely shifted. The Zorvan Empire and Caltharian Syndicate, which had seemed invincible that morning, were in full retreat. Their ships were destroyed, their planets were defenseless, and their leaders were hiding in bunkers. The other species of the galaxy watched in amazement as humanity revealed its true nature. They had not been weak, they had been patient. They had not been helpless, they had been studying. And now that their patience was exhausted, they were the most dangerous force the galaxy had ever seen. "High Commander." Vex sent one final message before his flagship was captured by human forces. "To all species of the galaxy," he broadcast, "we have made a terrible mistake. The humans were never weak. They were pretending to be weak while they learned everything about us. Now they know exactly how to defeat us, and we know nothing about how to stop them." The message ended when human soldiers stormed his bridge and took him prisoner. For the first time in his life, the proud Zorvan warrior was afraid. 6 months after Operation Terran Fury began, the war was over. The Zorvan Empire had surrendered completely, and the Caltharian Syndicate had collapsed into civil war. Across the galaxy, former council members were sending desperate messages, asking for peace talks with Earth. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UE's Retribution. The massive ship hung in space above the old council homeworld, its weapons pointed at the planet's surface. The message was clear. Humanity was now in charge. Ambassador Lisa Carter had a new title now. She was Earth's Minister of Post-War Relations, and her job was to build a better galaxy from the ruins of the old system. But first, the galaxy needed to understand what had happened and why the new Galactic Assembly met in a different place than the old council. Instead of the fancy space station where aliens had mocked human weakness, they gathered aboard the Retribution. Every species in the galaxy sent representatives, and they all came as equals for the first time in centuries. Lisa stood at the center of the assembly hall, looking at hundreds of alien faces. Some looked scared, others curious, and a few seemed almost relieved. She had spent her career trying to make peace with these species, but now she held all the power. 6 months ago, Lisa began, many of you believed that humans were the weakest species in the galaxy. You thought we were cowards because we avoided fighting. You thought we were fools because we shared our technology freely. She activated a holographic display that showed the old galaxy map. Red zones marked areas where the Zorvan Empire and Caltharian Syndicate had ruled through fear and violence. You were wrong about everything, Lisa continued. We were not weak. We were careful. We were not cowards. We were studying you. And we were not fools. We were preparing for the day when talking would no longer be enough. High Commander thus sat in the prisoner section, wearing simple gray clothes instead of his fancy uniform. His empire was gone, his fleet was destroyed, and his armies had surrendered. He looked like a broken old man. For 30 years we watched. "You attack innocent people," Lisa said, looking directly at Dex. "We watched you steal resources from weaker species. We watched you laugh at anyone who asked for justice or mercy. We hoped that diplomacy would eventually change your minds." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We were wrong about that too." The holographic display changed to show the new galaxy. Human ships patrolled trade routes, protecting merchant vessels from pirates. Human medical stations provided free healthcare to species that had been ignored by the old council. Human peacekeepers kept wars from starting between aggressive neighbors. "Today we establish new rules for galactic civilization," Lisa announced. "No species may attack civilian populations. No world may be conquered without cause. Any government that commits genocide will face immediate intervention by human forces." Ambassador Zara of the Nexian Republic stood up. "Minister Carter, what gives humanity the right to make these rules?" Lisa smiled. It was not a cruel smile, but it was very confident. "The fact that we have the power to enforce them." She gestured toward the windows where human warships could be seen in every direction. "The old council ruled through fear and corruption. We will rule through strength and justice." "And if we refuse to follow these rules?" asked Delegate Crix, the Keltharian, who had once mocked human weakness. "Then you will discover what happened to the Zorvan Empire," Lisa replied calmly. Dr. Amy Watson, now Director of Xenological Research, stood to address the assembly. "The old system failed because it allowed the strong to prey on the weak. Our new system will protect the weak and control the strong." She activated medical displays showing alien patients receiving treatment at human facilities. "Species that remained neutral during the war or actively helped us will receive full access to our advanced medical technology. Former enemies will receive basic aid until they prove their commitment to peace." "What about reparations?" asked Chancellor Vex, who had once led the corrupt council. "The Zorvan Empire and Keltharian Syndicate will pay for the damage they caused," Admiral Sullivan said, stepping forward. "Every human colony that was attacked will be rebuilt using Zorvan and Keltharian resources. Every family that lost members will receive compensation." "That will bankrupt our economies," Vex protested. "You should have thought about that before you started killing innocent people," Sullivan replied without sympathy. Captain Jake Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, commanded the new Terran Defense Fleet. His ships patrolled the galaxy like guardians, making sure the peace was kept. The sight of human vessels reminded everyone that the old days of unchecked aggression were over. "Admiral Morrison," asked a representative from the Vegan Collective, "how long will human forces remain in our systems?" "As long as necessary," Jake replied. "When we are confident that you can resolve disputes peacefully, our presence will become less obvious, but we will always be watching." The truth was that humanity had no intention of ruling the galaxy like the old council had. They did not want to steal resources or enslave other species. They just wanted to make sure that what happened to them would never happen to anyone else. 10 years later, the galaxy was a very different place. Trade flowed freely between worlds because human ships kept pirates away. Diseases that had plagued alien species for centuries were cured by human medical advances. Wars that might have killed millions were stopped by human peacekeepers before they could really begin. On New Denver, the colony that had been destroyed in the first Zorvan attack, Danny Price stood with his family in front of their new home. The town had been rebuilt bigger and better than before, using technology and resources taken from the Zorvan Empire as payment for their crimes. "Dad," asked his youngest daughter Lucy, "why did the bad aliens attack us in the first place?" Danny thought about the question for a moment, because they thought we were too weak to stop them, sweetheart. But we were not really weak, were we? No, Lucy, we were just being nice. But when someone hurts innocent people, sometimes you have to stop being nice and start being strong. In a small cafe on the old council homeworld, an elderly Zorvan veteran sat across from a young diplomat from a newly contacted species. The diplomat was asking about the war that had changed everything. "Tell me," the young diplomat said, "how did humanity defeat the Zorvan Empire so easily? Your people were known as the greatest warriors in the galaxy." The old Zorvan stared into his drink for a long time before answering. "We thought they were weak because they chose peace. We thought they were cowards because they avoided conflict. We never realized that the most dangerous species in the galaxy is one that has the power to destroy everything but chooses not to until you force their hand." He looked up at the young diplomat with tired eyes. "No species will ever forget the moment humanity's tolerance finally snapped, because it was the moment we learned what true strength looks like." The diplomat frowned. "I do not understand." "Strength is not about how much damage you can do," the old Zorvan explained. "Real strength is having the power to hurt others, but choosing to help them instead. Humans had that power all along. We just made the mistake of forcing them to use it." Outside the cafe, human patrol ships moved silently through space, their crews watching over a galaxy that was finally at peace. They had not wanted to become the galaxy's protectors, but someone had to do the job, and they were very good at it. The galaxy prospered under human guidance, not because humans were perfect, but because they remembered what it felt like to be helpless. They used their power to protect those who could not protect themselves, and they made sure that bullies like the old Zorvan Empire could never rise again. Humanity had learned the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes, being truly peaceful means being ready for war.